Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this yet another edition of the Community Show webinar. We are always happy to have you with us, and today is one of those days when we are glad to have distinguished ladies and gentlemen with us. Today we have some evidence. Some evidence is the Deputy RDC of Kitagwenda. That is somewhere in Uganda, Chenjojo. And we have Edith Nagujja. Edith has been with us before, and today again she joins us. A very, very brilliant lady with a lot of matter to put across. As your host, I'm the usual host, of course, Godwin Toko, and I'm glad that I am always with you people, and we have these discussions that we hope that will make our country a better place. So today we are going to have a conversation with this lady and gentleman, with the lady and the gentleman that, because another one is expected to join us later on. When they do, we shall have this, just a brief conversation. So I want, without wasting more time, to first pick Edith's mind on the issue of bail. So Edith, as a lawyer, what I know of bail is that when people are imprisoned, sometimes the case drags on. And because until you're convicted or until you confess to the crime, you're not guilty. So the idea is that you can get bail, you go out and keep reporting to the court whenever they want you, as the case moves on. And given that cases in Uganda tend to drag, they can take such a long time, can be 5 years to decide a case, in some cases even 10 years. So you wouldn't want someone to be in jail for 10 years and then they turn out innocent. And the other aspect of bail is that they're prisoners who are sick. You want them to go home and have some medication that maybe the prison's health services won't be able to give them. And because of that, then bail comes in. Bail is like the savior of such people. Also people of old age. You don't want a man of so many years to be in jail, yet there's a chance that he probably didn't commit the offense, as long as he hasn't yet confessed to the offense. So that's where bail comes in. Now, closely related to bail is the issue of police bond. Police bond is basically given at the police station. So unlike bail that can only be given to you by court, because at that point you're no longer at the police station, but you've been handed formally to the court, and your matter is between the court and the prison's authorities. Now, police bond is normally at the police station. We know for a fact that when you're arrested in Uganda, the law says you should be released within 48 hours if you're not committed to court. So within the 48 hours, if you're not yet taken to court, then police, you can work with the police and you get police bond. Now, that means that you report to the police station as and when agreed on your bond release conditions. Now, for all these bond and bail, there are safeguards. There should be people standing in for you. People say that I'll bring him back. If he fails to come back, there can even be money that you put some monetary some money aside. If the person fails to come back, the money is forfeited. Now, these are the safeguards that the police and the courts normally rely on to ensure that the person comes back. But bail and bond have become a very critical issue. The president says, and I think he has some point there, that there are people who are given bail. Then they go back and commit the offense again. He says that also some people, because they see suspects arrested, then the suspects come back out, they end up taking the law into their own hands and killing the suspects, which is called mob justice and something that doesn't like. So as people out there in the community, I want to begin with you, Edith. What is your own take from the conversation you followed, perhaps in the taxi, perhaps at the saloon, perhaps on the border, all these places, and giving us your own perspective based on what you know on bail and the little I have just put forward, because, well, there's so much to say, but that's the little I could put across. What do you think? Is the president right on this, or you think that, like some have said, he is actually complicating things even further?
Thank you very much, Godwin. I hope I can be heard.
Yes, Edith, you're loud and clear.
Thank you so much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Cecilia, for another opportunity, to discuss, these important topics that are very important for our communities. Well, the president is definitely right. When you look at where he's coming from and the way he's putting up his views, yes, it is not fair to the society. For example, let us look at someone who is accused of rape or defilement, and then they come back to, we have so many rapists, so many defilers walking free. They go and come back. We have so many sexual offenders. We have so many murderers. they go and get back, and when society sees them, they don't think the law is very valuable in this country. So when you look at his arguments, he is definitely right, and something has to be done. But on the other hand, I believe in human rights, and I think bail should be a human right. As long as you're not yet convicted, it is important that you're given bail, so that as you carry out the proceedings and then when you're found guilty, then you can get you can do what when you're found guilty, then charges can be officially pressed and you serve your sentence. So I believe so much in human rights. I advocate for human rights. We have so many people who are rotting in jail for crimes they didn't actually do. And then the people who actually did the crimes are walking freely on the streets in society. They are okay. So I really, as Edith, I would like to say bail should be even a human right. Someone should be able to access bail if they're able to, to pay a certain amount of money and get out and then process their, whatever they have to do, then that is very okay. And when we come to the law part of it, I think something can be done. An agreement, we can borrow knowledge from different countries and see how things are handled. When somebody's out, the suspect shouldn't, live normally as a normal citizen or like a normal, person who is there can be something done. This person can be under house arrest until he's proved guilty. Also, the proceedings can be, fast enough. That I think that is a problem in a justice system in Uganda. Proceedings can be fast enough, and at least to send a message to community that when it comes to law, it's not a joke in Uganda. But when you just put when you decide to do things because you're trying to pin some individuals, or you're not doing it for the right purposes, then that is wrong. So yes, Godwin, I believe that bail should be a human right, and anybody should be able, whether guilty or not, people should be able to access bail, and as long as they can afford to pay a certain amount of money, it should be paid until they are proven guilty.
We're glad to have heard that from you. Now let's turn to our friend, Sam Evidence. Sam, I want to pick your mind on the same issue that Edith has just enunciated on.
Thank you so much, our moderator. Good morning, members. For us who have been in security, I think we have had a lot of challenges with that issue of bail, and I'm sure that's where the president built his point from, that this issue of bail should be handled, and when someone is accused, they should not have, because we have built something in the community whereby someone that commits an offense, and in a period of at least like 2 days, you find them in the village again. Actually, there is a place where I worked from. There is a person who used to kill people, and there would be evidence. Someone would be reported to have died, and then tomorrow they meet him in the boasting, saying that one has been handled. Again, he would threaten, he would tell the people that if you disturb me, you will follow the other one who died. So people got so much fed up with him, and that was not only, he was not the only one. We had about 3 to 4 people in the district who were known to be serial killers and with evidence. But however, it would be shocking that every time he would be arrested, he would go to prison. The file is sanctioned, he goes to court, and then he comes back. And we were told that the father was rich, so he would take there some money and And that's how he used to get out of court. So people somehow got fed up with him. They attacked their family, the father and the son. They destroyed the house, and they almost wanted to kill them. Until actually they later agreed as the village that he should leave the village and go to some other place. So this thing of people being bailed out, oftentimes, we make the community get tired, because here is someone who is walking free with another person who is in the grave, the person who died, who is already in the grave. So it really disturbs the people, and they end up doing what they do. I think, and the president was very clear. He said the bill for the capital offenders. I think the capital offenders, he meant the law. These would fire people, aggravated defilement, those who kill people, and there is overwhelming evidence that someone has committed that offense. So one wonders, why would such a person be bailed out as early as that? Because the moment we keep doing that, we will not have security as a country. People will know that today I am going to do this, and I go to prison for a few weeks, and after that I will go back home free. So that has somehow compromised our security, and people no longer surely respect the law. They no longer have that respect of the law, of knowing that that once you do something, you will get caught up with the law, and you go to prison. And the problem is not only with the judiciary, the problem is also with the police. As well as we think about the bail, we should also think about cleaning, especially the CID department. The CID department, there is a way they mishandle cases where you find there is overwhelming evidence, but I think some of the characters in the police want to somehow deal with the criminals to make sure that they conceal evidence and the criminals are released. So we need to think about the bill, and also cleaning up those people who are supposed to gather the evidence and who sometimes get compromised by bribes or something, and they kill those cases. If we do that, I'm sure we will have a solution to this problem of the bill. Well, I also believe in human rights. Honestly, it is true that sometimes someone is taken to court when they are innocent and they are charged and remanded. But however, even when we believe in human rights, but the human rights should be two-way. I don't know why in Uganda you find when we are fighting for the rights of one individual and forgetting about the other one. For me, to my thinking, I think that the human rights, when we are talking about the human rights, we are talking about the two parties, not one individual. Because if you're fighting for the other one who is in prison, then what about the other one who was killed, who is already in the grave? That one who won't speak for himself because he's already dead. So as the activists and the civil society and all those who are bringing up that yes. Some
evidence. I just want to chip in there and ask you something. You said that what of the other one who is in the grave? Let me give you a scenario.
Yes.
When I was in law school, I read a case of someone who was arrested for killing someone in Masaka. He was convicted and sentenced to death. He spent 18 years from 1 to 18 on death row in Luzira. He was supposed to be killed anytime, but he wasn't killed. When he was there on the 19th year, the person whom he was alleged to have killed resurfaced and appeared somewhere in Luero. They realized that they had buried a person who had died naturally and confused the body to have been a relative that was killed. So when you talk about the person who is already in the grave, that is a fact. There's someone already in the grave who is dead. But also, don't you, on the human rights aspect of it, don't you feel like it would be it complicates things further in our circumstances, our scenario of Uganda, where evidence gathering is a problem, like you've said, police can easily be bribed, cases can easily be fabricated, that tomorrow you fall out of favor with someone, maybe like a rich man in the village, and then he fabricates a case against you of murder, and you end up spending so long in jail, and yet bail could have saved you. So I just want to bring that perspective into this conversation. Thank you.
You are right, but I remember when I was talking about that, I told you that it is true that some people are surely, sometimes some people are innocent. But I've told you there are some cases where there is overwhelming evidence. For instance, someone was killed, and tomorrow they go and find the clothes of that person who was killed in the house of someone, or they find you with his phone, or they get the audio recordings of how you, or someone confesses that I involved myself in that case. So in the cases where there is overwhelming evidence that someone has killed another, or someone has committed an offense, why then do you rush to give that person an offense? I think that's where we are building our argument from. We are not saying that we are not talking about the instances where someone is suspected to have done something and we don't have enough facts that it is true he committed that offense. I think those ones can be excused. But in instances where there is overwhelming evidence, that person should surely not be given a bail.
So you say bail shouldn't be given in circumstances where there's overwhelming evidence. Okay,
Yes.
Let me just make my view or that clear, and then I proceed. Yes, you want to come in?
Yes, I want to just ask. I want to ask Sam.
Okay.
How about when that overwhelming evidence is actually a setup? We have seen people being set up for things they didn't do. And then my second question is.
Shall I the second question?
Yeah. Do you think the problem is bail, or the problem is actually in the entire justice system and how things are handled?
Of course, in instances where cases, I think those are rare. I have told you about an issue. For instance, let me give you an example. There are some people who have been killing border men. Like someone kills the border, they are taken to the border boys, they are taken to court and they are released. When they return, they repeat exactly what they have been doing. There are those who have been stealing. They are known in the community that they are thieves. They are arrested, taken to court, bailed out to return. And others who commit murder. Even the other time I was at police, and there were some people in the prison I had to interact with them. And the police officer, there is someone who is singled out, and he told me that one, at least every 6 months, we receive him here at police. Now, however much there is this problem of setting up cases, then how about these ones who come like every after 2 months, they are in police, they are in court? Surely, are those ones also set up? Do those ones also deserve a bail to go back to community and keep doing the business they have been doing? If the case has been set up, I don't think it can be set up once, twice, thrice, and it continues like that. If the case is set up, you get disagreement with someone, it is done once, and maybe they charge you like that, and you can be bailed out. But here are the criminals who have been in police to court for several years, and they are still in the community doing exactly what. And this is why we have had issues with the security in the country. The people who are committing offenses are not doing it for the first time. These are habitual criminals. Someone who has been committing the similar offense for some time. So the president argues that why would that person surely keep getting paid as we continue to lose our people, as the culture grows like. So I think in instances where someone has been in court for several times and in police, those people shouldn't be bailed out. Then you have asked me that is the problem about the bail or the police? The police and the judiciary, I think they take advantage of this law of the bail to make sure that they frustrate the justice. I think if there was a restriction that if someone has committed this offense and there should be no bail for them, I don't think they would be having problems. But because they know that within the constitution, someone has the right to get that bail, then it is easy for them to collaborate with the criminals, and they get whatever they get, and the person is bailed out. I think that is where the problem comes in.
Thank you very much, Sam. So my own perspective on this, the issue of bail, and I'll give it today, is that under the current legal framework, we can work within them if we use them well and curb crime. But like Sam said, and I agree with him entirely, the problem is not just with bail, the problem is the whole system. The police who fabricate cases, the police who release suspects that they have overwhelming evidence against because of bribes, and even the judicial officers who let go suspects when they receive bribes. I believe that as a community called Uganda, we can work together to end crime, that everyone needs to play their part, that we need not hide criminals within us. We need to expose them, we need to report them, because that way they can get help and get rehabilitated. I also believe that with bail, the current circumstances under which a judicial officer decides who deserves bail and who deserves not bail is worthwhile. Judicial officers are trained in law. Judicial officers are given enough power within the laws to decide and to know who deserves what and who deserves and who should get what under what circumstances. And they do this subject to the oath. Of course, there are few that make mistakes here and there, but that can't be a representation of all of them. Now, with this, we move to our next segment of the discussion, and we are going to talk about the social fabric of Uganda, what holds us together as a country. We all know that Uganda didn't exist before contact with colonialism. The colonialists came and found so many segmented tribes, different communities, ethnicities. They stitched that together, most of it by use of force, some of it by divide and rule, and part of it by conceit, by trickery and deceit. And today we have a country called Uganda. It's now 59 years of independence, and questions still remain. What holds us together? What brings us together? It's often that you move around Kampala or any of these streets and you find a young person, they're normally young, wearing a shirt that will read 99% Muganda or 99% Acholi, 1% Ugandan. And these should get us thinking. People seem to be finding more solace within their traditional heritage and not the country. So I'll begin by asking Nagai. Nagai, what do you think holds us together as a country called Uganda?
Yes. Thank you, Godwin. As a teacher, I think I'm best to stand with the education. The fact that we come from all and meet at different education institutes, I think this gets us together. This, you know, we like when you have been to school, I believe all paddlers can agree with me, there is that attachment that you have to a certain institution that trained you. And, you know, we'll always be proudly associated with that, you know, the institutions that trained us. We'll always, you know, be proud of them. For example, I went to Mary Hill High School and I met so many girls, so many friends from different, you know, I would say like Japadolos, Acholis, and we became friends regardless of where we came from. And I knew what got us to be very tight and together. It's because of the institution of the school that we had been to. So I think come to the literate class, education holds us together. Meeting, as we come from different cultures, we have different perspectives on life, but because of education, we tend to have an agreement and we tend to accept each other regardless of where we come from. So I would basically say education holds us together. And also, Godwin, do not underestimate the 1%. The fact that, you know, I'm a Ugandan, you know, I'm from the 256 code. That is also important. The fact that, you know, as a community, we acknowledge that we are Ugandans. despite where we come from, you know. For example, the Wafumbira could easily attach themselves to Rwanda, but they don't. They still know, you know, I'm a Ugandan and I come, you know, I come from here. So basically, I say that the number one, we acknowledge that we are Ugandans, and then our and for those who have been able to receive a certain education, we also attach ourselves to that institute, and we always, you know, we always credit it, and we get to be friends. Even when we get to universities, you'll find you're being friends with anybody. You don't know even their language, you get to learn their language, and you know, you get to be close friends. You get to, you know, enjoy each other, visit each other's culture, practice each other's, you know, different activities in different cultures. I think education is a very important thing that holds us together as a country. Thank you.
She thinks education holds us together as a country. I'm going to follow that up with a question that you see nowadays, only a small percentage of Ugandans, first of all, go to school. Let's say like the percentage of Ugandans that study O level up to A level, they're not the majority of Ugandans, perhaps less than 60%. Okay, let's say like they're about 60% of Ugandans. Now, that said, you also realize that nowadays people tend to go to schools within their localities. When Aronda Nyakarima died, there's a school in Kitgum that sent out a condolence message and placed in the newspapers. And then people learned that he actually went for high school in Kitgum. People that studied in the 60s, 70s, and 80s tended to traverse the country in pursuit of education. People moved from the west to the north, from the north to the central, from the central to the east and west. So it was a Katogo. People that are popular today will say, I studied in a school called Ombachi. And if many people asked where that school is today, they won't even know where it is. Or a school called Namasagari that seems not there today anymore. So do you think that we are going to face a bigger problem now that people it's only a handful of schools that seem to be taking and performing better? So people are now reduced to studying within their localities. So you find a school in Busoga and maybe 80%, 90% of people attending it are Busoga. And the same would apply for someone in West Nile or a school in Western Uganda. And you find that they're only being attended from. Do you feel like this is now indication of a problem that is yet to come for Uganda?
Oh yes, Godwin. Definitely, this is going to interrupt our social cultural fabric. When people get to attach to their society, you know, for example, you'll find that most schools in Central are attended by Baganda, attended by Basoga. And these two have close cultures. So yeah, it is definitely going to affect. But because let's say in Western Uganda, people will always find it difficult, you know, to leave good schools there and then get their, you know, children to come, you know, this far, travel this far to come and study. Yet what they are looking for can easily actually be accessed in their communities. So definitely, if people take that route, it is going to, you know, to interrupt people, you know. That is why, you know, I don't know if you've been following on social media, you know, there are these tribalistic wars, you know, and that is actually why now we have things like I'm a 99% Munyankole Muchigan. What it's good that people feel entitled and feel they should praise their cultures, but at some point, I think it's going to disrupt the social culture development in Uganda. Yeah, I think I do agree with you.
Okay, so as a person that is, so as a person that is engaged in the education sector, as a teacher, how do you think that this problem can be addressed, and how effectively would, if you were in charge, if you're the Minister of Education, or if you're the President of Uganda, what are the steps you would take to ensure that this problem is handled effectively?
Well, Godwin, I think it's still being handled. When, for example, when it comes to the government, when they're giving scholarships, you'll find some of the scholarship, you know, some of the people given scholarships are taken to like Gulu University. You'll find some Banyankole studying from Gulu University. This is going to help a child to, you know, to understand and appreciate other cultures. You'll find, I studied in Barra, so we had so many, you would find so many actually different, you know, different people. When you look at what the government is doing, they don't just you have to, for example, go to Mbara University because you're a Mnyankole. No, they take you anywhere around Uganda, and which is a good thing. And I think as a community, we need to appreciate that. We need, even as a parent, we need to know that it's not about your comfort, about the short distance and what, but it's about training the mindset of your child. We need to, as a young generation, we need to appreciate our different cultures, having different, having different social aspects and different cultural aspects doesn't mean we are not one people. We are still Ugandans. And I think if I would encourage, as a Minister of Education, if I were one, I would encourage parents to, to actually let children mix up all over, let them mix up so that they can understand and appreciate each other. And it is dangerous when you look at it in the future. When you look at it in the future, you will realize that people will hold on to something. That is why you'll find a Munyankole is comfortable employing a Munyankole, because that is the culture they understand. Even when somebody is not good at what they do, but someone is going to be like, no, this is my fellow Munyankole. Or a Muganda is comfortable employing a Muganda because they know he's not ready to break his comfort zone and try out other people. That is why the social culture development in Uganda is actually facing a lot of disruptions because of that. So if I were the Minister of Education, or if I worked, I would totally advocate for the mixing up of students being able, children being able to travel everywhere and, join different schools in different regions so that they can appreciate the different cultures of Uganda. And when we do that, it keeps us as one. Now, I'll use a personal example that I'm not even proud of. When we were growing up, I went to Mbara Municipal School, and we had so many Acholis, South Sudanese, and other, the beautiful dark-skinned people that in a certain area called Lugazi. But when we would leave school to go back home, would find, your parents waiting up somewhere, someone is waiting up somewhere because they believe that these people were cannibalists, which was not, it is not good branding. Imagine yourself, Godwin, in a society and you're being referred to as a cannibalist. And there were many, and these people have their culture. They come and settle together. They come and settle in one community. Even up to now, they are still there. It was difficult for us to make friends with them because, number one, society had termed them as cannibalists. They had even given them names. They had, even our, when you look at our parents, that restricted us, like, socializing with these people. They had stopped us from, hanging out with them as children because they believed these people were cannibalists, and anytime any child could disappear being eaten by a mudokori. That is what they used to refer to them. And, that was not a good thing. Until when we grow up and we meet these people where we are adults and we are able to make decisions for ourselves, you realize actually these are amazing. These are incredible people. They're even, sometimes some of them are even better than the people we've grown up with. So I think looking at education and when you come to schools, we encourage these people to always be friends with each other, appreciate each other's culture. That's why we have cultural dances, why we have culture, competitions, so that people can appreciate their fellows, can appreciate where they come from, can appreciate their cultures, and hence building that unity that Uganda actually needs. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Sam now. Sam, you've been patiently waiting, and I'm happy that you did. So I want to know from you. You've traveled as deputy RDC, perhaps to more than one district now, and you've worked with different people. So I want to understand, what do you think is the thing that holds Ugandans together? When you meet these people and talk to them, what do you think is that thing that they are proud of? They're like, yeah, because of this, we are all together Ugandans. So I just want to pick up your mind on that.
I was saying, what brings us together as Ugandans is the fact that we are a country. Recently, we celebrated our independence, and every Ugandan know that we belong to one country called Uganda. So that one also brings us together. Then in the places where I've moved to, what brings people together, one is the faith. You understand that we have the three biggest religions in the country, that is Anglicans, Catholics, and Muslims, and recently the born-agains. Because these ones are created in a way that they cover the whole country, it unites people. Because when you go to a certain district and they ask you which faith do you belong to, and you tell them that I'm an Anglican, you'll find the other one being happy. He says, hey, this one is my fellow Anglican. So the faith, however much it has a segment of course, dividing Ugandans, because at a later point you'll find one faith being against the other, and the fights continues. So somehow, somewhere, the faith has some percentage of uniting us as a country. Then also the language. There are some places, for instance, the whole of Western Uganda, when you speak, people understand you, however much the dialect and the accent might be different. But when you speak, you realize that someone is understanding what you're saying. A few words are different. So however much the tribes are different, the languages are different, but there are some words which are similar, and when you speak, people understand you. But there is one major issue which I think unites Ugandans, and that is the intermarriage. Even when we are divided politically, divided on grounds of religion and etc., but you find it is easier for a Munyankore to get married to a Muganda to get married to a Munyankore, and other tribes. So when those people get married, of course, they have children, and those children, they become one. So the intermarriage that has happened over the time has united Ugandans more. Because in places where you find people are against each other, based on tribes, but they are somehow, somewhere married to each other, the chaos, the differences can't be too much. So the intermarriage also brings Ugandans together. However, there is a problem of finding people divided. Like, for instance, when they send you in a certain district and to do some work, you've been sent there as another DC, you've been sent there as a magistrate. Now you'll find people wanting to ask where do you come from? Then they also want to ask, how comes they didn't bring our son? Do they think we don't have someone who is born from here? And when they do that, most times when you even take decisions, they will want to translate in the tribal aspects, and you find the whole place is divided. So we must agree that in some places people are really not united. They know themselves as we as Bachiga, we as Banyankore, we as another tribe. And that affects development, of course, because the moment you get involved, you get busy in tribal talk, sectarianism, you'll find development not taking place because you put your focus on fighting individual A or B because they belong to one tribe. So I think, however much I think we are somehow unlucky because Ugandans having so many tribes, having different languages, sometimes we get lost there, or we get lost to our belonging, our culture, knowing that for us we do this. When you do that, you don't belong to us. And funny enough, cultures being different, because you find what is embraced in Bachiga is not embraced in Banyankore. Now, when you shift to the area where there are many Banyankore and you want to practice it, you will see people not being comfortable with you, and that creates a lot of conflicts. So that's the bad part of it. But we have what brings us together and what we can focus on to to make us one people as a country. I also want to agree with the lady who has said that education also brings us together, and someone who has gone to school will know that we are all Black people, we are Africans, no matter how the tribes we belong to, the culture and everything, but we are Africans. When you've gone to school, you know this one is a Nacholi, but he's a Ugandan. And you'll find ways of befriending them and working with them for the good of the country. The people who are letting us down are these ones who are educated, who know the meaning of these tribes. But again, when they go back to the community, they want to fuel it against other tribes which are in their communities. And that is what is bringing the conflicts that we frequently hear about.
Okay. Sam, given how you've concluded, the educated people come back and then they fuel the conflict, they throw fuel on the flames. I want to understand how much has today's politics, the politics of Uganda, contributed in dividing the country. We had the president complain that a particular party thrived on tribalism to win the elections. And that party also accused him that, you see, even you've been thriving on tribalism, you get most of your votes from particular areas and all that. So how much is politics a catalyst in our division today as a country?
I think politics has contributed so much because the politicians, for them, what they do is to take advantage of those tribes. And you understand that as a party, when this government was coming into power, it had been a culture. The government then were so much focusing on it, making say that, for me, I come from the north, and therefore we are the people in power. We can do this and this and this. And when we came, we said, no, we are all Ugandans. For as long as you're able to do that, you can take that position. And the government positions now started being given to different people. And whenever they apply, they know that I can get the job. Only that, of course, we have the individuals who want to push the tribalism to be the priority. Like, there is an organization and the Nyankole is heading it. He wants to employ only Nyankole. There are those who are doing it and those who are ideologically disoriented. However, going back to what you have asked me about the politics, the politicians, especially the members of parliament, and I think the local politicians have now copied from them. And this is caused by the privileges that come with these positions. A member of parliament knows that once I win the election, I'll earn lots of money. And that's why they do everything possible to make sure that they win. In some area right now in the country, like parts of Kigezi, when you go there, you realize that they vote according to religion. You are either an Anglican or a Catholic. When you're an Anglican, they try to so much relate with the Anglicans to help them win their positions. The Catholics do the same. Then there are some other parts of the country where you find the politics is based on the tribe. I belong to this tribe, so you vote me and I will go and do for you this and this. So the politicians, because of the poor skills of mobilization, because they don't know how to convince the people to vote them, they now focus on the tribe to make sure that they use the tribe to win the support of the people. And for as long as they know that, for as long as they use that, because like you will find the tribe, like the Machiga, they will be knowing themselves according to how they speak. Once you speak, people will be very quick to identify that this one is a Machiga. So because there is that organization, that organized group of people who belong to one tribe, the politicians want to take advantage of that. So I think if we stop that kind of mobilization of basing on where someone comes from, then the politics wouldn't surely be dividing our people.
Thank you. Now I want to turn back to Edith. Edith, you dwelled a lot on education and how it can unite us. But now what I want to find from you, like if Sam has just talked about the politics and how it divides us, I want now to get your own perspective. What do you think are those main factors that are growing this wedge against Ugandans and dividing them on grounds of ethnicity?
Thank you, Godwin. Like we had identified earlier, now it's talking about what before we even actually get it, start from the ground. Let us go to the grassroots. Someone has gone to, let's say someone has gone to Weranyanji Primary School. Then they go to, after Weranyanji Primary School, then they join Weranyanji Secondary School. From Weranyanji Secondary School, then they maybe Bishop Stewart University or Mbara University. The only culture that they have been able to appreciate is that the Western, Chinyankole culture. And even if they went to even Kigezi schools, the cultures are a bit the same. So this person knows nothing else but this culture, doesn't appreciate any other culture except the Chinyankole culture. And after university, this person is able to get to a big office and eventually promoted to a high position. Because of this person is unaware of what other people are capable of. And there's one example of what used to happen when we were children. How we were told, that a certain group of people are cannibalists and what. Big office. Don't expect them to actually appreciate other people. They are going to look for the people. Even when these people are incompetent, they are going to look for the people that they appreciate. Because, there is, I'm a Muganda and I'm Muhoro. My mother is a Muhoro, my father was a Muganda. But I know that in Western Ankole there is a proverb that a child who does not visit thinks the mother is the best cook. So when somebody is just in that office, they don't know anything else. They don't know how to appreciate other people. They don't know that. And the best way to do it is they know our people can actually get the work done. If Nyankole is here, Nyankole will do this and that. The same applies to women actually and other cultures. If you go to some, other ministries that are headed by, they are not doing it because I find that they even do. Hello, can I be heard? Sorry, I was interrupted by a call.
Yes, you can be heard.
Thank you. Now, when it comes to the political differences, when you look at the NRM government has been in power for, I think we are coming close to 40 years, right? And who is the chairperson of this of this party? The chairperson is President Museveni, who is branded as a Munyankole, even when he's not, because he's typically a Muhima or whatever. And now, when you come to other...
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Now, when you look at other people, for example, I personally studied in Western Uganda throughout. But when I came in the central, they actually think that people are okay. And because of the schools I also went to, I thought Banyankole were okay until I started doing this girl empowerment movement, that I actually realized that, wow, in Western Uganda, we have people who actually live terribly like this, people who feed once in a day, people who are actually suffering. People who, there are no roads, people are living in hilly areas, cultivating on the hilly, very rocky areas where they can barely even get anything to feed their families. Now, when you come to the fact that President Museveni has led this country for over 40 years, and when you look at different offices, big offices that are, are led by the Western Uganda people, even when he has tried to mix it all up, you'll find that people will always find fault in that. They think because he's a Munyankole, because he's from southwest, from Western Uganda, that is why Banyankole are everywhere. They forget these are people who have also worked hard to be in such positions and all that. So, Godwin, these differences are going to tear us apart. They are going to tear us apart. And I wish we were other, like our neighbors in Kenya, where we had strict presidential terms so that every culture is able. You see, we are different, Those, if you look at other countries, they are combined by the official language, the official, traditional language they use, like Kiswahili and what. I wish our country was like that. I wish we had those strict, presidential terms so that everybody is able to test leadership and get off. Maybe this would unite us more and people would stop these stereotypes. I think it is a big problem. I remember one time as a student, I was attending a leadership and a very bright lady that I admire told us that this is not good. This can easily lead us into a genocide. And I think you saw it during the rallies. Everybody was, you find all these cultures and, much as people think it is a social, some people feel like certain Ugandan people, Banyankole, that's how they term them, And they don't even know. They know whether it's a Muchiga, Muhoro, all of them are Banyankole. This is what is going to happen to them. We are tired of them. What? Some have even been denied jobs because of, since they have a long nose and, there are things that are happening in communities. So I think there are so many differences. And I think as a country, we must come together and try to avoid these differences, because we shouldn't forget the fact that we are from different cultures and we need to appreciate each other. And it can all start from the grassroots. Let people mix up. Let people appreciate each other. Right now, I have a great friend who is an Itesot. But when I was younger, I thought those people ate people. My father used to tell us a story. They were the only Baganda in where I come from in Imbara and Wona Hill, and people would never visit them because they believed, even when they came from Obulenzi, but they in Bulemezi here, they believed they had come from Masaka and they are cannibalists. They ate people, so it was very hard for anybody in our village to allow their children to come and play with our fathers. They just grew up there playing with each other. And actually, my grandfather got so annoyed and married so many wives so that he can avoid that, and and decided to even have children with different women, and all that. So these are very important issues that we need to start addressing at a very young stage before our country gets into something else. Thank you.
So Sam, I'm turning back to you, of course. I want now to know from your own perspective. When the NRM government came to power, one of the first things it did was to bring back the cultural institutions. You have Buganda Kingdom, you have all kingdoms. In fact, they've even created many more new ones, except the Kingdom of Ankole operating. So I want to understand from you, do you think that the revival of these kingdoms in a way has contributed to the divisions based on ethnicity that we see today?
Yeah, I think it has contributed to it. Because you find those cultural institutions in places where they are, you find them trying to create some kind of situation against the people who are living in those areas. Like, for instance, in places where there is a cultural institution, and then we have the people we call the Bafuruchi. This is May. Are they immigrants, people who come from other tribes and then shift to that area? So you find the way they are being treated, the way they talk about them, they don't include them in their cultural activities, and then they make their subjects believe that these people who are not supposed to be here, and the conflicts begin from there. So I think the cultural institutions have really contributed. And in the places, for instance, where there are no cultural institutions, you find people are united. For instance, me, I come from Kigezi, and we do not have any cultural institution there. But for me, when I'm in Kabale and I meet in Uganda, we interact normally, we become friends. When I meet a Mnyankole, same thing. We have never had any conflict, I think, for many years in my area, which is caused by tribal conflict. To saying maybe these are Baganda, they are not supposed to be in Kabale, no way. And actually, I think I only got to know about it when I joined university, and I found that there are some people who had created associations. You find them you find at the university that there is an association of Baganda. So those ones I have the association there. Then you find that there is an association of Bagisu, then an association of Bakonzo. So those associations were there. Then, in trying to copy them, for us, we now decided to create the association based on the districts where we come from. We find there would be an association of Rupunjiri, Kanungu, like that. But still, that wouldn't divide. So the cultural institutions, I think when we brought them back, maybe the reason it was intended to bring back the culture of the people, to know where they belong, so that they don't forget their culture beliefs, etc., their history and that. But however, to some extent, these cultural institutions have really instigated the divisions based on the tribes that have now increased in places where those cultural institutions are. You can't go there and you fail to get a case reported about people about the tribe which attacked the people who are settling in that area, which they call their land. And by the way, some places it has been very bloody, especially in the days of politics, because during politics, it is that tribe wants to take over all the position. When the Bafurich have increased and they have the numbers, they also want their person. And because of that, a lot of conflicts begin and people cut themselves, people die. And now it has even become worse when it came to land, where the cultural institution belong to that cultural institution think they own all the land. Even when someone has bought the land legally, has the land title, has been there for some time, you find they are trying to push them away. They tell them that you do not own any land here. And really those ones have brought conflict. So I want to agree with you, moderator, that the cultural institutions have contributed much to the tribal conflicts that we face as a country.
Okay. When you say the revival of the cultural institutions has contributed much to the tribalism we see today. Now, I want to understand still from you, there's also the argument that these tribal institutions, the cultural institutions, they help us preserve our culture. And they say Africa is nothing without a culture. The Baganda doing their thing, the Acholi having their culture and all that part of the aim is that these institutions help us preserve that, they help us practice that, they give us semblance of that. Do you think it is better for us not to have them? I mean, the cost-benefit analysis, like there's a good in having them, at least from the argument that they help us preserve culture. And as you've said, there's a problem in having them, that they are going to promote tribalism, they're going to promote ethnicity. So do you think it should have been better, given the costs of tribalism we have today, not to have them at all? Or you think, well, they are bad, but because we need the culture preserved, it's not bad that we have them? Which side of the coin do you take?
I think, it is, they have their good side and bad side. The truth is these cultural institutions, they remind us about our belonging, where we belong to. And again, they have helped us much in preserving the culture, in preserving the behaviors of our children and how they grow. They have really helped us a lot. However, of course, there is also another bad side of now trying to promote tribes. This is because we do not have any institution that tries to tell them that you should do that and you should don't do that. You should begin here and stop there. I think we need to have these guidelines put in place so that, like for instance, in places where there is a cultural institution, a king, you cannot talk about a king. You find he has all the powers. He can do this, do that. And that's why we had problems in Kasese. We had problems in the Kasese because the people there believed that their king is final. He can tell them to do this and that's what they will do. So in places, I think the government now should focus on having these people told that you can begin from there and stop there. You can do this and don't do that. If we do that and we tackle this issue of tribalism in those institutions, we tell them that there are moments that the politics are based on tribalism, this will happen, that will happen. And I think that will help us a lot. But still, it will continue because the people living there, the people belonging to that institution will always know that they have a belonging and they have to fight for their own tribe. So it is two-way. They have helped us on culture, but again, they have spoiled the unity of the country and at a terrible speed. Because in places where those institutions are, people are surely divided. They are surely divided. They know the other ones who belong to the cultural institutions are the supreme, they are the decision makers, they are the landlords, they are the bosses. Actually, even doing a business there in those places, you are at risk. People can even decide to go and attack you and take everything. So it is as bad as that.
Okay. Let me now turn to Edith. Edith, I hope you're still here with us.
I am, Godwin.
Okay, now we are concluding soon, but I will not go without getting your perspective on this particular question. The issue of employments in government, that has been coming up so often. We keep hearing people on social media say that jobs are going to this particular direction. The other day, the Monterey story that said that the Prime Minister has staffed her office with her own close relatives, not her tribesmate, but just her immediate close relatives. When you see the cabinet of Uganda, for instance, there's the president serving, the president's wife is serving somewhere, the president's the president's brother is running the OWC, the president's son is running the army now, the land forces. How much do you think that when mentioned, how much does this contribute to them feeling secluded? Particular segment saying, this is a government that is not ours, it's for a particular sector of the people, and then leading us to the kind of talk.
Thank you, Godwin. Kindly repeat your question because my network has been interrupted.
Okay, I'll try to paraphrase. I was saying, when you see that the president has close relatives, such as his wife in cabinet, a top cabinet post, when he has a brother running an outfit like the OWC and a son running the land forces, that is the army. And then when you see the story like the one that appeared in the Daily Monitor saying that the Prime Minister had staffed her office with close relatives, daughter, cousin, nephew, and all that. So is this part of the problem that contributes to the common man on the ground saying, you know what, this is not our government, especially if they're not from those particular areas. This is not our government. This is a government of them. And for us, we shall work to have our own government at some day. Do you think that this is part of the problem?
Definitely it is. I was hearing the RDC submission, and let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If we decide to do like an association of, let's say, Baganda, Nkobazambogo, it's not that we are doing it because you are differentiating yourself or from the other cultures. You are just finding that togetherness within your tribe and, promoting your culture in different ways. And the problem, the intercultural differences that we have right now are basically political. Had we had a government that, for example, is willing to, to democratically hand over, power and have a new set of leadership, coming in and doing this and that. Now, that would be that would have created a different mindset to many members of the community in Uganda. But right now, Godwin, if I'm given a big position and I bring in my entire family to work with me, I think this is something that is very personal and which is not good. And that is why we are even having the greatest, when you look at our percentage when it comes to unemployment. And wait, now even when you're to look at these 2 dead years almost because of the pandemic, we are going to find so many youth who don't even want to go back to school, because what is the importance of going to school and then not having a job after that? So now, this is what I would like to say, that when you look at the president and his entire family is running this country, when you look at the prime minister, now it starts with my other view I brought up. People having inability to appreciate other cultures. Because I believe there are so many competent people. There are so many competent people that would take over these positions and actually even put a country in a better place. But because we don't appreciate the different cultures, because we have not been able maybe to move, we haven't been exposed to what other people are capable of, and we believe that, look, my family does this, we have, toiled through, we have made this, so I think my relatives and I can actually make this, that kind of mindset. So it is such a big problem for the country, and people, it causes that inability of people believing in themselves, and because the mindset. For example, I believe if there is in future any change of power, and let us say it goes maybe to another region, what will happen? Now the government will shift to that region, which is not the right way to do things. And people should not attribute it to the fact that we have different cultures or not. Even if we are different people, we are the same. And this could have run smoothly. But there are so many political factors that actually influence these tribal talks and tribal issues and tribal fights in communities and what and that, and so many. I hope you get what I'm saying. So many, and to the representative of the government, that needs to change. There are people, for example, if I were the president, I don't see the reason why my wife should be a minister, yet she already has an office of the first lady. That is a very huge office in the country. There could be someone else who would come and take over the job and do it. But when you do it like that, it is to us, the young people, we see that is why the prime minister is comfortable involving her family in every, in her office, because you're trying to show us that when someone takes over leadership, it is a personal thing. It should be about a family instead of the people. Yet government is for the people. So I think it is the problems that are affecting our social culture development are very political. And if all those wrongs can be put to right, I think Uganda is a beautiful country and with beautiful people. When you go in other countries, Ugandans are acknowledged to be great people, very happy people, very recipient people. But when we come back inside, and where all those, where someone is, all those ideas, I'm a Muchiga, I'm a 99% Muchiga, and I'm proud of it, and all that, all those phrases, where they are coming from, it all starts with the political situation of Uganda. If things can change, if people can learn to appreciate each other, that, regardless of where they come from, I think that would be very important. Why do we have unemployment right now? Now imagine people who are working for Dr. Orikunda right now. Where are they? How are they living? How are they coping up? So if I come in now, Edith, you're the new Minister of Education, and entirely you must be like, now, for example, I am a Moro and I'm a Muganda. And now, so if you're not from Rukunjiri, I'm not giving you a job. If you're not Muganda, I'm not giving you a job. Which way, Uganda? I always ask, where are we going? And that is why I believe that in future, it is going to be a big problem. And our parents, our grandfathers who started all this, they are going to cause a huge problem. This can even be a genocide against one institution, not an institution, one community, any person from Western Uganda, you're being hated by the rest of the cultures, the rest of the tribes, because you are defined by the fact that you come from Western Uganda. Because that is how actually people feel. I think that needs to change a lot. And people don't even want to know. When you go to Western Uganda, there are certain activities, but people don't know that. Now, if I go to there is a meme at one point that was trending about URA, and they're like, even computers, even the entire system, the language was changed to Runyankore because most of the people were working. And this was because the person heading it is a Munyankore, and maybe there are a few here and there, and so people decide to brand it like that. So when to come to issues of a country, especially a country that has people from different walks of life, people from different ethnicities, it is very important, the leaders to, it is very important to look at how you're doing your things, how you're implementing your systems, so that every person can feel very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edith. I want to know if Sam has something he wants to say about what you just said.
Maybe to also give my view, you've asked Edith about the president's wife, son, and brother. I think the people who create that kind of conversation most times are these ones whose focus is tribalism, and tribal talk itself is sometimes becomes it is tribalism anyway, and I don't know why we would focus much on these other three individuals. Yet we sure know that the government has several other positions. We have the vice president, the prime minister, all those powerful government positions, and they are held by the people who don't belong to the first family. And again, I think we also need to appreciate the fact that these people are also Ugandans, and they have something to contribute to the development of the country. I think for as long as they have something to add, then there wouldn't be any problem if they do so. Because recently, even the president of US, Donald Trump, when he was elected, he appointed his daughter somewhere in the government, and they did a great job. I didn't hear the Americans complaining. So somehow, somewhere, I think this kind of talk should stop, and we focus more on having the people united and not seeing everything in the lenses of tribalism.
I just one question for Isam. Did you know that Donald Trump had so many issues because his family in the White House? Do you know that actually contribute, not actually even getting a term as the president? Let us just look at the countries that are successful. How many times do we see family members involved? Let us not, try to sugarcoat things here. They are very much competent. They are Uganda. There is a lot they can contribute, but they already have a position as first family. They can create so many other projects that they can, help in developing, in this country. But when you get organization, what will your subordinates do? So look at what the Daily Monitor reported. The Prime Minister and her relatives entirely now are in the office of the Prime Minister, and they're taking over everything. So what does that tell us? For us, the local people who are reading the news and listening to this, what does it mean for society? It means that even when I'm starting a certain project, my entire family, and when you look at it, let us not hide away from that truth. When you go to organizations, you will realize someone's daughter is in charge of this, but if our forefathers had appreciated other tribes, had appreciated each and every Ugandan, and instead employed people on merit, not on how they know this, it is better. Let us not, we have suffered. I have thought that you are capable of doing things, but you cannot be in that position because you threaten someone's position, and this person is a relative of this person, and all that. And all that is hindering development for our country. Uganda is a country with so many things to make a change and doing better. But these days we sit back and like, why should I do this? Why should I do this and someone else will take the credit? Much as we love our country, all those factors are going to limit us from being patriotic, like the way we're trained to do, the way we're told to do. Because when we come to reality, the story is actually different from what we expected. So, there are so many offices that these people could hold, but not those powerful. When you get powerful offices and give them to your family, it simply means that you're showing ownership of a country. So they could be competent enough, but there is something else that could have been done. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we are almost at the end of this show. So I'm going to ask that each of you make a conclusion, and then we call it a discussion for today. So let's begin with Sam. Sam, what is your conclusion? And what can you tell the people out there? And what are you doing as an RDC to ensure that this problem, the divisions along tribal and ethnic lines, is a thing of the past? I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do that.
Well, I frequently tell the people that we are all Ugandans, no matter the tribe we belong to and where we are born and where we have found ourselves, we are Ugandans. We have equal rights. And I also tell them that the moment we get involved in this talk of saying I belong to this tribe, I belong to that tribe, we will not evolve, because we will keep conflicting with each other, trying to prove supremacy, and at the end of the day, the country will not develop. So we need to appreciate the fact that we are all Ugandans. Then the leaders, the opinion leaders, the people who have a huge following, the cultural leaders should know that however much they hate those institutions, but the subjects should be those who belong to that tribe, and also those who stay within that area. They are all their subordinates, and so they should all be treated equally. This business of identifying some individuals from your tribe, and then you try to make them superior, and then you make them create a thinking that the other people who shifted to your area, they don't have a belonging, and therefore they shouldn't be existing. It is going to instigate violence more, and it is going to divide our people more. And then we need to encourage our people to intermarry. This one is already happening, and good enough. I haven't had reports where someone gets married to a certain tribe and they are stopped because they have different, they belong to different tribes. So if we encourage people to intermarry, obviously these are the challenges we are having with automatically stop. Because if Mchiga is married to to Muganda, there's no way how Uganda will go and fight Bachiga, because they know these are relatives. So we need to encourage our people to intermarry. Then we also need to find the reasons, what brings us together as Ugandans, and embrace them more. And when we do that, of course, we will be united more and have all the reasons to be proud as Ugandans. Then maybe on the other issue I talked, I think we need to accept the fact that as a country, if we are to keep the security of this country, then this issue of bail and gathering evidence should be handled with a lot of care. These people who are giving out bails, when someone is a criminal, habitual criminal, and is a problem in the community, surely it will, we will not be doing anything as leaders and the people who are in charge of the security of the country. Thank you for hosting me. I wish you a great day ahead.
Thank you for accepting our invite, Sam. Let's now listen in to Edith.
Thank you, Godwin, and thank you for hosting me, all right? I just want my messages out to the young people. I want to tell every young person out there that for us, we are different. We've been trained to appreciate each other, and we must do it for the sake of our country. We must not, and I repeat it for the third time, we must not act like our forefathers. Whether you're a Mugisu, whether you're a Muganda, Kumai, Munyankode, we are all one people, we are all Ugandans, and we must, I know we believe in that, and we must do better than what other people have done. Let us appreciate each other, regardless of our social differences, regardless of our cultural differences, and let us help each other, empower each other, and train each other for the betterment of our country. We cannot accept our country to die. We must, the biggest thing, regardless of being known as a Muganda, as a Munyankode, what defines us is one factor, the factor that we are Ugandans, the fact that we are, we are from this beautiful country, the Pearl of Africa, Uganda, is the most important. So in everything we do, we must support, empower, train each other to be, to be better than what our forefathers have done. And the tribes, our languages should not define us. Our different cultures should not define us, and should not, limit us from embracing the fact that we are Ugandans. This has to change. This mindset has to change. Let us all be there for each other, and time will come, and I know we'll make this country a better place for the generations to come to live in. It will be a great Uganda. It will be a great country, and will be great people. So let us remember that the most important thing is that we belong to this country. We are Ugandans, and that is the gospel that we must spread everywhere, even on grassroots. Let us do business together. Let us do things together. Let us avoid all these tribalistic stereotypes that are ongoing. And, let us be better. Let us be better. I know the old system has had issues, but as young people, I'm talking to someone who is, 35 and below. Let us look at making our country a better place to live in, and let us appreciate each other. If we are different, we are still Ugandan from each other, and the core thing that we must all look up to is to make a great country, and for it to have a great representation, we must all accept each other the way we are. Thank you very much, CCG, for hosting us. Thank you so much, Godwin. Have a wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen.
Special thanks to the two panelists that we hosted today. The third and fourth didn't turn up, but such is life. We had to just move on with the two that we had, and I think they did an impressive job. So to the viewers that watch this show week in, week out, we are very grateful that you always spare time to watch us. We also request that you subscribe to this channel. There is a lot that keeps coming your way when you subscribe to this channel. Subscribe and turn on the notification bar so that whenever there's something uploaded, you can watch it live. We are also grateful to all the funders of CCG, and we pray that this becomes a platform that can be used to cause change across the country in our social way of life and make this a better country. From me to you, thank you very much. I am grateful that CCG keeps bringing up different topics that are very impactful to us all. Thank you. Have a good day, and we hope to see you next week for the next show.